You're listening to the Morning Punchin' Show with RB and Jae, live and direct from more cities than an Instagram model's bio. Get ready for some boxing talk on the clock. Let's face it, you're not working and somebody's got to pay for the Wi-Fi.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It is RB and Jae. This is the Morning Punchin' Show, the most unpredictable, honest, and authentic morning boxing talk show in the game. Today is Monday, September 19th, 2016. Let me bring on my partner in crime, the creator and founder of badculture.net, Jay. What's good, Jay?
It's what's going on, RB. A great Monday. We made it through the weekend and are on the other side. Are we better for it? I'm not so sure yet. We'll find out. But we're going to talk about all the fight action for the weekend and get your responses to today's hot question. The hot question of the day is, who impressed you more on the Canelo Smith undercard this weekend and why? Jojo Diaz or Diego De La Hoya? These two young men are groomed to be the future faces of Golden Boy promotion, so we want to hear from you who impressed you more. So we'll take some responses later on the show, and if you want to keep responding to us, make sure you tweet either RB or myself or both and use the official hashtag of the show, TMPS. What you think, RB? Who was more impressive?
Well, I was in the back, and I was able to see both Diego and JoJo kind of warming up and going through the motions. I didn't have any service whatsoever in that venue the whole entire night. That's why I was off the radar on social media. So I didn't really get to see their fights. But I will say that in person, they were so much smaller than what I thought they were going to look like. I think
right.
On TV, I think everybody just looks big. But so I don't know. So I'm going to have to let you weigh in on that, and our callers are going to have to let me know what they think about that. The lines are open this morning. We want to hear from you. Did you enjoy the pay-per-view? Did you hate it? What did you think about Canelo's performance? What did you think about his post-fight interview? Please call 718-508-9852. Press 1 to speak your piece. That is how Jay will know that you want to come on the air and speak with us. We have some Know It or Blow It boxing trivia. You can win some free gear from the RagingBabe.com store. So
I love
nice little lineup today. Oh, I do too. And shout out to the people in Dallas who were rocking it. That was so much love.
That's dope. Thank you, Dallas. Great folks.
Yeah. So we're gonna break down the fights from this past weekend. We're gonna play some Know It or Blow It. We got some hot topics to touch on. And we've got that good word on the curb. And then Jay's going to wrap up with the fight schedule for this week. So let's punch in, Jay. Let's start off Thursday night in Philadelphia. Dusty Hernandez-Harrison with the unanimous decision over Thomas Lamana. I did not get CBS Sportsnet channel on my TV, but I will say that a lot of people in Philadelphia are calling this the Philadelphia fight of the year. It wasn't a high-profile fight, but it was a solid matchup between two young prospects, and they both wanted a slot in the world ratings. It was a nice little brawl. Every round, from what I heard and what I saw on Twitter, it seems to have been a shootout. These guys have known each other for years. They didn't use friendship as an excuse. Oh, we used to spar together. We trained at the same gym. Our trainers know. They didn't use any excuses like that. We hear it so much. They went out there, they fought each other, and I think if more fighters were to test themselves like that in their younger prime, being friends or not, boxing would be in a little better place. Jay, did you watch that Thursday night?
For whatever reason, I normally get that channel. Excuse me. I normally get that channel, but I couldn't pick it up. I saw people tweeting. I think Al Bernstein or somebody was tweeting about the fight, but unfortunately, I didn't get to see it. I read a few articles. Shout out to our guy, Daryl Cobb. He did all the photos and everything for the event, and I read the wrap-up on fightnews.com. And like you said, it was a brawl with ultimately Dusty Harrison out-muscling Thomas Lamana, but it was a great back-and-forth matchup. And these are the type of matchups that make the sport live and thrive. So congratulations to both of them for a great fight, but Dusty Harrison gets the decision.
Yeah. Moving on to Friday night, we had Jay Leon stop Deshaun Johnson, And then in the main event, we had Ishe Smith with the majority decision over Frank Galarza. You know, guys, I really thought Galarza was going to pull this off. I think he was just a little too inactive. They scored a knockdown on him early in the fight, you know, where his glove touched the floor. And I think that really made the big difference. Ishe looked huge. He weighed in about 3.5 pounds overweight the day of the weigh-in. He blew up like 20 pounds. His body didn't look good. He looked so slow, you know, and for Frank not to be able to beat Ishe, you know, I don't know where Frank Galarza goes from here.
I'm not sure either. And, you know, without sounding like we're dusty or anything, and we're not. We had Eddie Mustafa Muhammad on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying if Ishe Smith doesn't win, he might as well hang it up. Well, he's saying that about Ishe Smith. What should we deduct about Frank Galarza? We know over there on the Heyman side of the street, they were fighting on Bounce, so that was like the last bastion of TV televised boxing coverage. So what happens to Galarza from here? I don't know. What happens to Ishe Smith from here? I don't know. Because I don't know what a victory really does. It gets him another fight.
Well, Ishe did say after the fight that he will continue to fight as long as he feels up to it and as long as he feels able to do so. I'm going to expect maybe a move up to 160 for him just because of the way his body looked and how slow he looked, and plus his comments after the fight where, you know, he wasn't really happy and, you know, he was kind of questioning maybe if he can continue doing this or not. Galarza, he's been inactive for a year. You know, I'm sure that was hard to get back in there. I heard he took the fight, and I heard that he also took short money. So too bad for Frank. I was really, really pulling for him. Saturday, Jay, there was a big fight over there, I believe, in Poland. Usyk versus Golovkin. I heard Usyk dominated Golovkin and grabbed the WBO gold.
And the new. Yeah, Alexander Usyk he pulled out what people didn't think he was going to be able to do against Golovkin. We talked about the fight ahead of time, that it was going to be a pretty decent fight, and that he wanted to enlist Antonio Tarver in his camp to prepare for the fight. And ultimately, it looks like he just didn't need him, and he did what he needed to do. I was surprised that the fight went the entire distance, but with the win, he added the world title to his Olympic gold medal collection. And, hey, Russia stand up. Russia stand up.
So let's go to Dallas. This is the big card. This is where we're going to spend a lot of our time and our energy on today, is giving you the results and our most authentic reactions on the pay-per-view card from Dallas, Texas. Before we even get into the card, I want to give everyone a little bit of stuff from behind the scenes. I got there Monday night. I will say that everything was super professional. I feel like I'm going to do my State of the Union address like Radio Raheem did from China. But
shout out Radio Raheem.
Everything was really great. I mean, everything was really organized. Golden Boy did a ton of promotions in Dallas. Obviously, you know, they had over 50,000 people show up. That place was insane. It was rocking. Jay, nobody else in boxing can do that right now. I don't care who's hating or who don't like Canelo, who likes him, who don't. Nobody else is going to put 50,000 people in a football stadium in the United States of America. They could do that over in the UK, London, and all that other stuff. Nobody else is doing that here. So whether you didn't like the matchup or not, it still speaks on Canelo's star power. People outside of Twitter, outside of Facebook, they do not care about the business. They do not care that he was fighting Liam Smith. They don't care that he didn't fight Golovkin. They didn't care. They bought tickets and want to see Canelo. They wanted to see Canelo, point blank period. Very smart that the fight went to Texas. Everything was just really, really great, really smooth. It was just a phenomenal venue. So I can't even imagine how electric the air would be in a stadium with that many people. I've never gone to a fight myself with that many people in one arena. That's just crazy. Just the idea of 50,000 people. I know I had to be like crazy in there. Yeah, it was so loud and it was so vibrant. I mean, the parking lot was jumping. a couple hours before the fights even started. I mean, the parking lot was jumping. I mean, they showed out. They showed up. That was just so much love in Dallas. So I didn't get to watch a lot of the card. I was super busy behind the scenes. But Saddam Ali did return to the ring, and he won a decision over Saul Corral. Jay, did you watch the Saddam Ali fight?
I did. Saddam Ali making his comeback to the ring after listening to Jesse Vargas, who has gone on to great things to face Manny Pacquiao, as we know, in November. Boy, Saddam Ali was throwing some bombs. I'm surprised that kid was able to stay up and take those shots, but he looked sharp. He didn't look like he had too many ill effects from the previous loss against Jesse Vargas. It was just the kind of fight that he needed to get him back into the rotation and the mix and get active again and shake off any ring rust. But he looked sharp and he looked good and he looked strong and clearly has no troubles making that weight still. That time off didn't really make him deteriorate mentally or physically all that much. So I look for Saddam Ali to be right back on in the mix because he did look sharp and strong.
Cool. We are going to give the results on the next two, on Diego De La Hoya and Jojo Diaz. And then, Jay, then I think we'll go to your hot question. That'll be like the perfect time to do that. So Diego De La Hoya, he opened up the pay-per-view, and he dominated Orlando De Valle for a decision win. Jay?
Diego De La Hoya, well, you know, for a long time, he is he's really coming along nicely. At first I was thinking that all the focus was on Jojo Diaz, but he was coming along pretty nicely, too. He got an impressive win on a big platform, which is just what he needed. He does have the De La Hoya name behind him, but it looks like he's doing his best to carve out his own style and create his own name in order to elevate himself in the division and in the sport. So I was pretty impressed with him. I enjoyed his fight. I watched the whole thing, and he dominated clearly over the duration of the round.
Orlandito De Valle, he's a good name to put on the kid's resume. You know, he's a tough fighter, and I think it was a really good step-up fight for him. I will try to catch it, but when I heard that he dominated so easily, I was instantly impressed because, you know, I didn't think he would easily dominate Orlandito De Valle. So let's move to Jojo Diaz, who stopped Andrew Cancio in 9 rounds. Jay.
Jojo Diaz also very impressive performance. He also looked strong and was victorious in the fight. After his last fight on that Rock Nation card, he said that he felt like he could beat anybody, and he brought that mentality into the ring on Saturday night and dominated over Andrew Cancio, just bloodied him up and battered him into submission. And another great win for Jojo Diaz, too. We'll have to get him back on the show soon.
Yeah, he's the nicest guy. He was really nice in the back. Hey, Michelle, you know, and he remembered coming on to our show and having a good time with us. So that's cool. So this is the perfect time, Jay, to get some responses from your hot question of the day, which was, who impressed you more on the pay-per-view undercard, Jojo Diaz or Diego De La Hoya? So let's take it to Twitter, Jay, and let's hear some responses and what our listeners think.
All right, so let's get those hot questions. One of our listeners, Clay Stevenson, whose name on Twitter is Glitter Road, says, Jojo Diaz due to his thorough precision. So shout out to him. We got a response from Kevin Casas. The Kevin Casas on Twitter, he says, for what I saw, Jojo Diaz has big personality, had fun in the pre-fight workout, got down to biz after a couple of punches. So thank you, Kevin. AK Promotions from Korea says De La Hoya, he really stepped up. Juan Dean Nuts, who is Pinche Daddy. All right, Pinche Daddy. On Twitter says Jojo Diaz looks like a future champ. He's damn good. Three Boys Boxing says Diaz. Cancio was tougher than Diego De La Hoya's opponent. Diaz went for the TKO and got it. De La Hoya could have knocked out his opponent, but he played it safe. And let's see, we got a response from Juan Martinez at 309 Martinez J, who says, it was a good undercard, except the co-main event, to be honest. I never want to see Willie ever fight again. Okay. I don't know that was the answer to our question, but all right, Juan, we hear you. Boxing Junkie says, neither one exceeded expectations. Well, damn. All right, boxing junkies, let us know what you want to see. And Chris Okanuski says, the HBO broadcast team for skillfully polishing that turd of a pay-per-view all night long. Tell us why you mad, son. So that is the responses so far to the hot question of the day. We still want to hear your responses if you're listening to the show. Once again, who impressed you more in the Canelo versus Smith undercard, Jojo Diaz or Diego De La Hoya? Make sure you tweet us and use the official hashtag TMPS. Of the two of them, I'm also going to go with Jojo Diaz as well, just because he got the guy out of there and he beat him into a bloody goddamn submission. Good grief. So, but I did like Diego De La Hoya too. So that's my take. I'm going to still ride with Jojo Diaz. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little partial because we've talked to him a number of times, but I like Jojo Diaz and I like where he's going.
Yeah, he looks to be really skilled and technical, and still want to see that killer come out of him, but he's getting the job done. So let's move on to the co-main event, which was a stinker. I always brag about our show being the most authentic and honest and unpredictable show in the game. So we are not going to switch up now just because maybe I work with someone or I'm affiliated with another. But Willie Monroe outboxed Gabe Rosado for a decision win. I'm not sure what it looked like on TV, Jay, because obviously I didn't watch on TV, but in person it was a bit of a stinker. By the third, fourth round, I had my head down. Gabe Rosado just could not pull the trigger. He could not let his hands go. I've said on the show before that Willie Monroe is kind of like a cat. He has a cat heart. So he's going to fight when you corner him. He's gonna just move around. He's going to dance around. And then when you corner him and fight, that's when he's going to fight back. And, Gabe needed to jump on him. He needed to be a savage. And for whatever reasons, he just couldn't. And there's no excuses coming from Team Rosado whatsoever. I think Gabe has given everything to this sport. He has given his blood, sweat, and tears. He never sold his soul. He never sold his spirit. And I think there just comes a time where you hit your plateau, and I just think he couldn't get off. He couldn't pull the trigger. And, Willie Monroe won on a decision. He won very easily. And I don't think many people enjoyed the fight. Jay, what were people's reactions online and on TV watching this fight?
Yeah, we pretty much, those of us who were on social media during the fight, entertained ourselves on social media because it was just a tough one to watch. When I saw the punch stats at the end, I wasn't even surprised. It was so minimal activity. It just was not. It was far more less scintillating than I thought it would be. I really thought it would be a firefight between the two of them because they have so much pent-up aggression, but it just looked like they both were just tentative to let their hands go. I think that from the outside looking in, it looked like both of them felt like if I let my hands go too soon and I make a mistake, the other one's going to knock me out, and I don't want to get knocked out and look crazy. So instead, it was a lot of standing around like, what you want to do, what you want to do, what you want to do. So we were a little buck on Twitter during the time of the fight. But, I mean, Willie Monroe eked out the victory, but it's nothing that he's going to want to, like, sell T-shirts about. Yeah, I mean, you won. Okay, cool. And no disrespect, he did win the fight, but it wasn't like a barn burner that's gonna.
It was disappointing.
The mouth is talking.
Yeah, it was disappointing. Like you said, there was some built-up animosity there. Things got really personal. At the weigh-in, there was some shoving and there was some words exchanged between the two. And unfortunately, they exchanged more outside of the ring than inside of the ring. And this fight was either going to be really great or it was really going to suck. I said that there was not going to be an in-between because of their styles, and it just really stunk it up. It really did. The pay-per-view undercard, Jay, I don't know how we want to grade it, and I don't think it's fair if I grade it just because I didn't watch the two opening bouts, but it seems to be a little underwhelming. And then I can't help but think about we have another pay-per-view coming up in November with Pacquiao Vargas, and that undercard is going to feature Nonito Donaire, Oscar Valdez, and Zeus Shimming. So I just hope that they're matched really well, and I hope that undercard does much better.
I do too. Man, come on, boxing. Stop trying to bleed us dry. Everything doesn't have to be a pay-per-view these days. I give the grade for the Canelo Smith undercard. I give it a C, maybe a C plus. I don't know. I found myself wandering away, finding excuses to do other things. I got far more involved with Twitter than the fights themselves. I did watch them, and I just wasn't that enthused. Kudos to Golden Boy. They got out there and they promoted the fight. They did what they needed to do in terms of promoting the fight, but the matchups were kind of just, I don't know. But then, I don't know.
Well, Jay, and you could tell in our energy today that, it just wasn't as great as maybe we had hoped it to be. So we're really reaching and fishing this morning to talk about some of these fights. So with that being said, why don't we move on to the main event?
Let's do it.
Stadium looked good. It was rocking. The atmosphere was rocking. You can't knock anything about the promotion, the environment, the atmosphere. You can't knock the venue. None of that. Shoot, Earl Spence was there sitting ringside. I got some word on the curb about Earl Spence a little later in the show, too. But so let's move on to the main event. Last week, I was kind of banging the drum a little bit for this fight, and I said, look, Liam Smith is undefeated. He's fresh. He's young. He's not going to come here to lay down. He's going to come here to fight. I didn't get to watch the first 5 rounds or so, but I did watch, the last few rounds, and there was some action. It was entertaining. I saw a couple knockdowns. Canelo pulled out the stoppage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
KO9.
Yeah.
KO9.
He hurt him bad. Canelo hurt Liam Smith bad with that body shot. It was that was impressive. I was expecting, him to take Smith's head off, but that body shot did what it needed to do. Well, sustained attack to the body over the course of those 9 rounds.
Woo. Yeah, so we got out there around the 7th round, and we were just like, wow, Canelo is digging that body. I mean, it was vicious. I mean, you just knew that Liam was really, really hurt a few times. And so Canelo picks up the WBO title. Again, there was over 50,000 people there. Everything they say is bigger in Texas. After the fight, Jay, Canelo did a post-fight interview, and they asked him about Golovkin. And if you want, can you break that down for us?
I sure can. So, of course, no disrespect to Liam Smith, but we just wanted to see. We knew Canelo was going to win. It just was a matter of time. And we really wanted to see what he was going to say following in the post-fight interview. First of all, Max Kellerman. Woo, Max is in there wilding out. You can tell those first take checks are nice because Max was not trying to be cute about it. Basically said he was a duck. Basically said that Oscar is the bottleneck that's preventing a fight against Golovkin because he's scared to put his cash cow out there. Boy, Max was a little bucky buck. I don't know what Oscar did to him during fight week, but Max wasn't here for it. But I guess he needed some good sound bites for his new show. So during the fight, they made a statement, and I'm hearing from people, we know as much as I try to speak Spanish on Twitter, my Spanish is not good at all. I'm hearing that they said that they gave Golovkin an offer, and Golovkin turned the offer down. Now, some of my Spanish-speaking timeline people said that's not what he said, that it was misunderstood. So apparently in the post-fight press conference, Oscar told people 30 days ago, I made an offer to Triple G and his people, an 8-figure offer. It's an offer that was 2, 3, even 4 times as much as he's ever made. I never heard back, and that's the bottom line. Look, I want to make this fight. There's no doubt about it. Jerry and I were just talking several minutes on how he would love that fight here in the stadium. I have to use one of his lines. I told him, Jerry, you got to show me the money. That's the bottom line. The bottom line, Canelo is not afraid of anybody. He's going to fight Triple G in September. Now, with his hurt knuckle, we have to go back to the drawing board and see what happens in December. Yeah, okay. His plans are to fight in December, and then in May, blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. We want the fight, but now his knuckle hurt. And then in September, his calf going to be hurt. And then in May, he need a haircut. Come on.
Well, look, they did say last night that his injury may actually be a lot worse. They think that actually his hand is broken now. So I don't know if he's lying about that. The $10 million fight offer or the 8-figure fight that they're talking about, you know, Tom Loeffler's a smart guy. He knows that pay-per-view might do 1 million buys. That pay-per-view can make $50 million or more. So he's probably thinking, no, we want more than a $10 million flat offer. However, let me remind you that when Floyd Mayweather offers fighters purses, they get like $3 million, and they're told to shut the hell up and fight. So,
right.
You know, you put things into perspective here. Floyd Mayweather has been the cash cow. He's been the superstar of boxing. And if you want to fight him, you're going to make your $3-5 million, and you're going to like it, and you're going to, you know, that's it.
Mm-hmm. You guys are some savages. Twitter is some savages. I'm sorry, RB. While we're talking about this, I just want to do a quick scan because I hadn't seen an official statement from Tom Loeffler. Maybe I missed it overnight of what he said in response to that. And I'm not going to air nobody out, but just go into Twitter and pop into your search engine. Just pop in Tom Loeffler and just read some of the responses that his name is mentioned in. Y'all savages on Twitter.
Yeah. So look, I want to talk a little bit more about Canelo. I know he gets beat up a lot on social media, but I will say the kid is 26 years old. Yes, we want to see him fight Golovkin. Yeah, of course that's what we want. But look, at 26, his resume is not that shabby. You know, at 26 years old, think about it. There are other 26-year-old fighters in boxing right now who barely fight. We get to see them maybe once or twice a year. They are out there chasing fights, chasing titles. They are inactive for 8-9 months at a time. Canelo has fought Mosley, Cotto, Mayweather, Trout, Lara. I mean, we can go on and on and on. His resume has decent guys on it. And, you know, I'm not going to pick on Earl Spence, but who has Earl Spence fought at 26 years old? Chris Algieri. Right. So let's put things into perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be a little fair here. Let's be consistent. Canelo's resume is really not trash. Yeah.
And let's check this out. At his age, his record is 49-1-1. This 26-year-old man has fought 49 times. He's about to tie Floyd's record.
Yeah.
He's not undefeated, but he's fought just as many times. And, you know. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to give you a little bit of word on the curb regarding Canelo. Then we're going to go to a commercial break, and I want to come back and play Know It or Blow It. So if you guys are listening, press 1 so that we know you want to play Know It or Blow It with us. So the little bit of word on the curb I got on Canelo is that he's most likely not going to stay at 154 his next fight, and they are going to work extremely hard to get him the Billy Joe Saunders fight. So if all is well with his hand and he can fight in December, it's not going to be Willie Monroe. Golden Boy, nobody at HBO or anybody else was impressed with Willie Monroe's performance. He could sit there and beat that drum on social media all he wants, that's the best fight, Cuba versus Mexico, whatever he's talking about, that's not the fight that's going to happen. So they're going to work really hard on making the Saunders fight happen. So, Jay, let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and play some Know It or Blow It and dish some word on the curb.
All right, let's do it.
Are you looking for a website that has all the latest and upcoming boxing events, plus unique and stylish boxing shirts and hoodies for men and women? Go check out RagingBabe.com. It's your one-stop shop for the most current boxing info and fresh boxing apparel for him and her. Shop online today at RagingBabe.com. Use the promo code RB20 at checkout for 20% off your entire purchase today. That's code RB20 or 20% off your entire purchase today, only at RagingBabe.com. So join the movement and see why attitude and loyalty become passion and determination, only at RagingBabe.com.
All right, listen, guys, we need you to call in and press 1 to play Know It or Blow It, 718-508-9852. I promise we won't embarrass you. Our questions are actually fairly easy today, so win yourself some shirts from the RagingBabe.com store. While we're waiting for someone to want to play with us, Jay, there are a couple hot topics that we can touch on, and I'm going to really lean on you for this because apparently Sergey Kovalev was out there in Dallas, and they had a media bruncheon, and apparently he said some things to Clarissa Shields about, you know, women should stay home and they shouldn't fight, and I think a lot of that may have been taken out of context, and people were saying that he's sexist, and what happened with that? What did he say to Clarissa Shields?
Okay, well, yeah, he is sexist. Let's get that. Let's be clear on that. He is sexist, but it's a cultural norm. He is not American. He is entitled to his opinion, and we're not saying he's not entitled to his opinion, but it is a sexist opinion. Just, let's get that out of the way. So apparently, he, as we know, he and Andre Ward were in Texas to beat the drum for their fight that's coming up on HBO November. And RB and I will be in the house, for Kovalev versus Ward or Ward versus Kovalev. So stay tuned for our invasion of Vegas once again. But upon meeting each other, Clarissa Shields had her medals on, so it was pretty obvious that she was an Olympian, she was a champion. And Clarissa Shields had an interview immediately after their meeting with her introduction to Kovalev, and she told Radio Raheem the first thing Kovalev said to her from the rip was, you women should be at home, or something to that effect. Now, I've been trying to find video because we know that the other sites were out there and had a camera on Kovalev the whole time, so I couldn't see the actual exchange, but you can see there were, in a video, I think it was Ellie Seckbeck had a video up that was prior to Raheem's interview, where Clarissa Shields was clearly annoyed, and she told Kovalev, well, it was nice meeting you. Maybe you'll fight on my undercard one day. And so following that, she went to the interview with Raheem, and she said, and he told me women should be in the kitchen. And I was like, watch it there, Kovalev. And she said, these are quotes. I'm not taking this out of context. I'm not trying to put my own personal opinion. I'm not being an angry black woman and, beating the drum for other black women. These were her quotes from her own mouth. So Radio Raheem wisely did an interview right after that with Sergey Kovalev to get him to clarify. And he pretty much, and he kept trying to give him an out like, that's not really what you mean. He was like, yeah, no, that's what I mean. I don't like women's boxing. I don't like seeing women get hit. Now, I can feel him on that. A lot of men don't like seeing women get hit, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, yeah, he just pretty much reiterated like, yeah, no, I meant what I said. I meant every bit of that. Yeah. And you can watch the interviews. You can go to Raheem's site. You can go to Black Sports Online where I did my piece where both the interviews are. But, yeah, he was like, no, I meant all that.
Wow.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, he has no filter. I mean, really.
None.
So there was a brunch that morning, Saturday morning.
Yeah,
So there was a brunch for them, and apparently Rock Nation asked Kathy Duva to leave the room. They did not want her in there during Andre Ward's media press time, and I thought, oh, my God, this is really getting petty. I mean, it's really getting petty now.
I don't get that. Why are you putting Kathy Duva out the room? It's not like she was in the back rebel rousing. Come on now. We're talking about Kathy Duva. It's not like Don King in the background. Only in America. Kathy Duva probably was going to sit there nicely and listen. She probably wouldn't have even said anything, but stop being so petty. Jesus.
I know. Petty. Sadie Booth. Chris Eubank Jr. vacated the British middleweight title just a few days ago. The 26-year-old suffered an elbow injury training for his October 22nd defense against his mandatory.
This dude.
Chris Eubank.
This dude.
Yeah.
I'm over Chris Eubanks, too. He talks too much, too. Right after the fight, he got online and was saying, if you want to fight a real middleweight, come holla. If he don't knock it off, and sign contracts with middleweights when they're presented to him. And what's funny, when I started tweeting about him, I was expecting all of Great Britain to jump in my mentions and call me all kind of C words and B words. But even they were like, yeah, I have nothing. I don't know what he's talking about. He needs to stop listening to his daddy. So, yeah, Chris Eubanks, come on, man. Get out of here with that.
Right. Jay, do we have anybody willing to play Know It or Blow It? If not, we're going to dish the word on the curb.
We have somebody who wants to play Know It or Blow It. I think I know who this is. This poor kid. We're going to bring him on.
Is it Joey?
Joey Cuevas. 845-248, you're live.
What's going on?
Hi.
I'm sitting in traffic in the BQE. I went on Twitter. I saw that you guys are on. I haven't called in a while.
Oh,
hey, welcome back.
This is the current Broner.
I'm sorry, where are you calling from?
I said, this is the current Broner. The guy that predicted what boxing would be right now.
Oh, Jason, this is, what's up, Mr. Cruz?
What's going on?
Yo, you know what? I've been wanting to talk to you for a long, long time because you were one of the first ones that were making some hefty predictions on what was going to happen with Heyman and PBC and Oscar. So tell us what you see of lately.
Let me just tell you, like, everything I've ever predicted about boxing has come true, and I'm not trying to brag about it. Like, I'm actually sad that it's all come to pass. You know, it's sad that boxing is in such horrible shape. And, you know, boxing has had its dips, you know, where it goes up and then it comes down and then it corrects itself. But boxing is in a state now where it's not going to make that correction. It's crossed the line that it's never going to go back from, you know what I'm saying? And it's really unfortunate, you know, like, I don't care for the sport like I used to, and I used to be as obsessed with boxing as you are, Michelle. But I really could care less about boxing now. It's just too. We see the same things going on over and over and over and over and over again. And then, you know, what makes me even more sad was that, and I hate to say this, but this weekend's Canelo fight was a success. I was hoping I was hoping 4,000 people would show up. 50,000 people showed up. They made that a success. The pay-per-view doesn't even have to be that great. The event was a success. And as long as people keep showing up to shit like that, nothing's ever going to change in boxing. And, you know, and I hate to say this, but Oscar's also part of the problem in boxing. I just can't blame – I used to blame just Heyman. But Heyman is like he's one leg in the stool. You know, there's other legs that hold up the stool of boxing. And Oscar's another one as well as Arum. But it's unfortunate that my predictions all came true. I wish I would have been wrong.
Mhm.
But it's sad. You know, PBC is trash. Like I said, it was going to be. You know, why would anybody have ever thought that Heyman was going to put on good fight when his matchmaking has always been terrible?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and I want to say something. Yesterday I spoke to a long-time promoter. I won't say his name. You know who he is, Michelle.
Mhm.
And, you know, and I brought up Heyman to him, and he said, the one thing that I really can't understand about Al Heyman was, how did he get these fighters, right? And how did he bring them to locations where they weren't known from? Like, why didn't he just, like, build them up in their hometown? And I'm like, you know, that's like promotion 101. You know, you got Adrien Broner that's from Cincinnati, and you're promoting him somewhere else. Why not build him up in Cincinnati? I mean, shit, look at what Arum did with Terrence Crawford. So this long-time promoter mentioned that, I was like, it's kind of true. But, Jesus Christ, like I said, I can't believe that I was so right about everything that I predicted. It's sad, you know, like, and Michelle, don't take offense, but I still log on sometimes to Twitter and I see your passion for boxing, and I say to myself, like, I admire your loyalty to boxing because you're like a loyal wife, right, who takes hits from her husband, but she still shows up because she loves them. You know, you're still absolutely loyal to boxing, but it's a shame because of how boxing has shrunk. You know, and no one can deny that. People have always said, oh, boxing is dying. But this time, boxing really is dying. Boxing really is in the ICU. And I just don't see how it can come back from its current condition.
It has gotten really hard, and it keeps getting harder, and I just feel, you know, there's so much negativity in boxing that try to have a little fun with it, but it does get hard. You know, some of the matchups are horrible. Half of the time I don't know where the fights are happening, and get frustrating. And then you see some fighters who, you know, may have talent, and they're getting the short end of the stick. They're not fighting often. Everything has become about money and what they have and what their purses are, and it's no longer about legacy. It's no about being in the Hall of Fame. It is in a really bad state right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, you know, like, listen, obviously everyone wants to stick their hand in the jar and grab as many cookies as they can. That's human nature. But you got to understand something, and in every organization, the mindset, right, and the attitude, the culture of that organization comes from the top. when it concerns Heyman fighters, which this guy controls probably like half the talent in boxing, right? These guys want to milk the game as much as possible because that's what Heyman's been doing to investors in boxing. So he's going to take as much with giving the least. That's what all the fighters want to do. I mean, Jesus Christ, no offense to any fighter, but like John Molina, this guy's been recycled more than, New York City cardboard. and Danny Garcia's going to fight him. I mean, listen, Andre Berto's washed up, but we could have all justified Danny Garcia fighting Andre Berto because, I mean, while Berto is washed up, the thing about Berto is the guy could fucking punch, and one shot can change a fight with Berto. So at least there's that element of surprise. But once again, Danny Garcia, chooses to fucking milk boxing and screw the fans. And, and why wouldn't he when Heyman is allowed this? So then other people see the same model. Why wouldn't they copy the same model as well? So this is what's terribly wrong. And here's the thing that I've been told by many sources that, if Heyman claims to be paying a fighter $500,000, in reality, he gives the fighter another $1 million that's undisclosed. So he gives these guys huge sums of money, right? So if DSG gets $2 million to fight Molina, why on God's green earth would anybody think that he would fight a decent opponent? It would cost too much fucking money for him to fight anybody decent. So we'll continue to get more shit. And this is the reason why a die-hard, obsessed guy with boxing like me doesn't even care for it anymore. And a lot of casuals won't tune in because it's the quality of opponents, it's the quality of fight. It's just not there.
Well, and I said that before, too. If these guys are getting paid a lot of money to fight showcase fights, what do you think they're going to want to fight a real fighter? So, for example, we talk about Charlo versus Julian Williams. Well, Charlo has made so much money fighting showcase fights. So, now it's time to actually fight your mandatory, who's a real live fighter, and now he wants $1 million. Well, I mean, that's absurd, and then what happens is, this is affecting other fighters that are signed with other promoters. So when you see Omar Figueroa making $850,000, what do you think a guy like Terrence Crawford is thinking? When he's like, wait a minute, that guy's over there making $850. I'm better than him. I should be making, X, Y, and Z. It starts creating problems with promoters and fighters and networks, and HBO can't keep up. What's going on with HBO right now?
Well, listen, I have a theory on the whole HBO thing. You got to understand that the recent sale of the UFC, right, was purchased by EMG. EMG's principal owner is a guy named Ari Emanuel, right? Mm-hmm. All right, Ari Emanuel, who I also believe is part responsible for the decline of boxing in New York State, and I'll leave that for another conversation. But anyway, Ari Emanuel is the largest agent of actors, writers, directors, etc. Like, this guy basically controls Hollywood and all of the talent that you see on TV and in movies and shows. Mm-hmm. This guy bought the UFC. Okay? And And so this guy has incredible influence with HBO because he provides them with the majority of their talent as well. So what I start thinking to myself is does this guy have something in mind with HBO to help like cross-promote, sell the UFC and talent from the UFC with HBO? Will HBO go in that direction? Because, I mean, after all, the product that they have appeals more to the demographic that HBO goes after than boxing. Mm-hmm. So there's something there. I believe that there could be something there. I believe HBO will continue to drop its budget in boxing, and we may see HBO eventually make a move into MMA. I have another theory too, that I believe that Ari Emanuel and Dana White will make a push into boxing, and I think what they might want to do is not keep boxing the way it is, but I think a hint of that is like BKB. I thought BKB was a great concept of taking boxing and evolving it. I think these guys may do a spin-off company and may actually get into boxing.
Interesting. Well, Jason, it's been a rough year. Is there anybody that you do enjoy watching these days? I mean, is there anybody that you will tune in for?
There's a lot of guys. I mean, look, I like Terrence Crawford. I've liked him for a long time. He's a really good fighter, but he's run out of opponents.
Yeah.
I like Chocolatito, but I can't think of somebody else. I like Triple G, but Jesus, who else is he gonna fight? I used to like Canelo. Until Canelo and Oscar went about the Floyd pay-per-view business model. And real quick, and it sucks because they should have learned. It's real obvious what Oscar and Canelo are trying to do. They're hoping that Triple G ages and they'll build the fight up more so then when they fight him, Canelo has a better chance of beating Triple G. The bad thing with that is that I have a feeling that this isn't going to work out the way that Pacquiao Mayweather did to do those numbers because they suckered people so bad with Pacquiao Mayweather that people are not going to make the same mistake twice. And what I see in the future is, like, again, people are not going to tune into that fight. And that fight could get spoiled the way that Aaron spoiled Gamboa. Mm-hmm. But I don't. Other fighters I like Kovalev. I don't see anybody else aside from Ward for him. Ward, I'd like to see Ward retired. I don't think there's anything else the guy needs to prove. He did a hell of a job at the Super 6. If he never did anything after that, it wouldn't have mattered. He would have already had a Hall of Fame career. The PBC has some good guys. I hope Julian Williams kicks the Charles' ass. I hope big things are in store for him. I like, this fight, I like Danny Jacobs, but I'd like to see him fight somebody with a heartbeat.
Right.
If he doesn't fight Triple G, not for nothing, I give the guy a pass. He beat cancer. I don't want to see him have another hard-ass fight like he did with cancer with Triple G. So I wouldn't bash him if he doesn't fight Triple G, but I want to see him fight people better than Sergio Mora. Kid Chocolate, God knows what happened with him. He could have mixed it up in the division. Earl Spence Jr. I like, but Earl Spence Jr. reminds me a lot of this kid, Verdejo. A guy who looks very promising, but we can't measure his goodness because of the level of opposition. What's going to happen when Spence gets in the ring with a guy that he hits with his best shot and the guy winks at him? What's going to happen psychologically there? We know Spence has all the tools, but that doesn't take, skills doesn't always win fights in boxing. There's a thing called the intangibles. There's a thing called, the will to win, and you could face a guy on any given night that just is going to refuse to lose. So I'd like to see more from Spence. I would have liked to see Spence maybe fought Brook, but we all know that Brook outgrew 147. I like Brook. I like to see him take on some guys at 54. I wish I could name some Puerto Rican fighters because you guys know I'm Puerto Rican, but I can't think of anybody coming out of the island that looks promising.
Yeah, and Verdejo's out until next year, and that's going to be a total rebuild. When I tell you they're going to have to start over with that kid, his injuries were really, really bad. He suffered a lot of trauma in that motorcycle accident. He is not very well. When he comes back next year, it's going to be back to square one. I mean, literally, it's going to be, back to Unimas, back to rebuilding, back to, it's going to take a really long time for that kid to come back. So all I've been doing is trying to wish him well. But, Jason, thank you so much for calling us this morning. We are going to let you go. We have to wrap up here soon. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Always a pleasure. All right, Jay, let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back. We got a couple people that have pressed 1 and want to play Know It or Blow It, and then we'll dish the word on the curb.
When the mind is ready, the body prepares for war. So next time you engage in battle, protect your hands with the best. War Tape, the original branded tape. Order yours now at wartapebrand.com and see why the enemy will fear you. wartapebrand.com. We put hands on you.
All right. My partner in crime, Jay, tells me there's some people that have been pressing 1. Jay, I think some people want to talk to us.
Oh, I know. Man, Jason got them lit up. So let's see if they want to play a little Know It or Blow It. 312-810. You are on with the Morning Punch-In Show with RB and Jae. Who are we speaking to, and where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Chicago.
Hey,
What's up,
Mike from Chicago.
How's it going? I'm going to keep it rather quick. I know you guys are about to wrap up. A little disappointing for the pay-per-view card. This is probably one of the worst cards that Golden Boy has put together. I can see what they were trying to do with putting Diego De La Hoya and Joseph Diaz Jr. there, but I don't know if it was just bad luck, but both of them just didn't seem like they, had, the pop or whatever it was to try to make an impression on a pay-per-view card. That Monroe Rosado fight was just awful. But impressive win for Canelo. I just think for him, I think it's time for him just to move up to 160. There's really nothing else at 154 to do. I mean, all the rest of the 154 guys are with Heyman, so we know Canelo's not going to face any of those guys. And I seen him mention that there's a possibility that Canelo might stay at 154. I'm not sure who he would fight and what would be worth fighting for at 154. I think stepping up to 160 would be just better. And it just seems like he's just much bigger than these guys at 154 now. He's growing out of the weight, and I think he might be a lot more comfortable at 160.
Here's the thing that always confused me. This is Jay, about Canelo fighting this fight at 154. After his last fight, he said that he was going to be making his move to 160, and these fights were going to be preparation so he could get accustomed to fighting at 160 against Triple G, which was his own words. So why even take another fight at 154? I was surprised this fight was going to be made at 154 instead of him actually actively looking for opponents at 160 to kind of cultivate his body and his training to fight Triple G at 160. So do you think that we are fully done now with a 154 Canelo, or is he just going to continue to hover around 154, 155, or, where does he go from here, since they are saying that he will fight again in May and September?
I mean, I agree. It is, like I said, there's not much left at 154 for him to do. He's done a lot so far, and Michelle tweeted out, all of the guys that Canelo's fought already, and he's only 26, so it's a pretty good resume already. Like I said, there's nothing else for him to do at 154. He's not going to fight the Heyman guys. There's guys, that he can fight, like, BJ Sanders, Andy Lee. He can fight Lemieux, Eubank Jr. There's names there that he can move up to, like you said, and prepare his body at 160 to face Golovkin. Now, I'm not one of these guys who think that Canelo Triple G fight needs to happen like right away. I can see why Oscar wants to, leave it till September, but if you're not gonna have your guy prepare him for middleweight fighters, then you're asking for, a pretty bad performance when he finally faces Triple G next September.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you for calling in. Do you want to play a quick round of Know It or Blow It with us?
Sure, I'm not familiar with the game, but we'll try it. I'll try it out.
All right.
All right.
Well,
so
let's get it, Michelle.
All right. We're going to give you 10 seconds on the clock to answer our Know It or Blow It question. Here we go. Who has the longest heavyweight title run in professional boxing? Who had the longest heavyweight title run in professional boxing?
Longest. Yeah, I'm not even sure.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the question again, and I'm going to give you 4 or 5 choices. That might help you a little bit. We love giving away stuff here. So Jay, we're going to give him 10 seconds more on the clock, and this time I'm going to give him 5 different fighters to pick from, and hopefully he'll get the right one. So who has or had the longest heavyweight title run in professional boxing? Muhammad Ali, Buster Douglas, Joe Louis, or Mike Tyson? Jay, give him 10 seconds. Ali, Douglas, Tyson, or Lewis? Who had the longest heavyweight title run?
If I had to guess, I'd probably say Joe Louis.
You got it. That's right.
Okay.
All right.
All right, winner. Listen, Mr. Chicago, hit me up on Twitter or however it is that you follow me. Make sure that you go to rageandbabe.com, see what's in stock, what you like, send me your size and your shipping address, and we'll get that right out to you.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks for taking my call, guys.
All right. Thanks. Let's jump right into Word on the Curb. We only have about 5-6 minutes left on the show. Everybody get your ears real close up into your phone here. So Bernard Hopkins was in Dallas this week for the Canelo Smith card, and he had some meetings with HBO and Golden Boy, and they are still trying to make his last hurrah. So it looks like it's not going to happen this year, but it could happen in mid-January. And they are still thinking that it could happen in D.C. New York right now is having a lot of problems with the insurances and all that other stuff. So I think New York is out of it, and it may take place in D.C. So look for B-Hop's return and his farewell fight to happen in mid-January. Adrien Broner, one of our favorite guys. So apparently a fight between him and Omar Figueroa was in the works before Broner got locked up. And now Figueroa is out of shape. He's fat. And all these other options are now having to be looked at for AB, which is scheduled to return in December. So it looks like Ricky Burns is that guy. He has to win his next fight. If he wins his next fight over there, wherever he's from, in the UK or Britain, or I don't even know where Ricky Burns is from, well, expect Broner and Burns to fight in December. Clarissa Shields, ready for this, Jay? I didn't even tell you this word on the curb, Jay. Ready?
Oh, boy.
Clarissa Shields has met with Rock Nation Sports, Main Events, and Golden Boy Promotions regarding turning pro and signing some type of promotional contract. Word on the curb is they may put her on the Ward Kovalev card.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
So we'll have to see how that shakes out. I guess if she signs with Rock Nation or Main Events, or maybe that's kind of a test of how she'll do. Or anyway, they're looking to put her on that pay-per-view card.
That's really dope.
Tweet me, our listeners, and how you feel about that. Other word on the curb is Earl Spence is expected to be back in December as well, and they want to put him in Texas. And Jermell Charlo may be on that undercard. Last bit of word on the curb that I have. Last bit of word on the curb that I have are several PBC promoters, a.k.a. sham promoters. I don't know what we want to call them, the guys who kind of run the show for Heyman. They have been reaching out everywhere to get their fighters fights. So, for example, there may be a small-time promoter that started running shows for Heyman and started signing all of these local guys because he's like, holy crap, I'm going to be doing all of these shows. I got all this TV now, and starts racking up and signing these fighters. Well, these Heyman cards are for Heyman fighters. So you're not just going to stack the undercard with your guys. So now they're in a situation where they've went and signed, 10, 15, 20 local guys, and they have nowhere to fight them because they can't put them on that card because those cards belong to Heyman, and they have no say-so on the card, the matchups, the purses, or anything. So these guys are now reaching out everywhere. They're calling Golden Boy. They're calling Top Rank. They're calling, anybody else in the game to see if they can get their fighters. So this is exactly what was going to happen. We predicted this was going to happen. They have nowhere to go. So you will see, more people trying to work with each other here shortly. And that is it for the word on the curb, Jay.
Wow. I'm excited at the idea of Clarissa Shields fighting on the undercard. Errol Spence, it'll be very interesting to see who he gets matched up with because folks don't get excited. It's going to be a stay busy fight. He's made it very clear that he wants that Kell Brook fight. So it'll be interesting to see who they throw in with him to, keep him active and keep him sharp. And, that's about all we got on the word on the curve. I like that. I want to see Clarissa Shields fight a pay-per-view. That's dope.
I know, right? So, Jay, wrap up with the weekend fight schedule. There's not much.
Yeah, there's not much. That's what she said. Da-da-da. Okay, so let's get the weekend fight schedule. Coming up on this weekend on Sky Sports, Saturday on Sky Sports, we've got Jorge Linares versus Anthony Crolla. So that's about it. Following the pay-per-view weekend, we're heading into we're not really heading into the holiday season. I was trying to think of a reason to make it sound like that's the reason. But yeah, that's about it for in terms of people watching this weekend. There's some Showtime fights in Miami, Oklahoma. There's a town in Oklahoma called Miami. Wow, interesting.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Man, I don't know who these guys are. I'm so sorry, Travis Peterkin and There's some fights happening in Miami, Oklahoma on Showtime. It's probably a Showtime Next Generation, New Generation fight. These names are very difficult, and as a person with a difficult name, I don't want to butcher their name. So tune in for that. There's some fights on Unamas, and yeah, that's about all. If you're in California, we've got some club fights in Ontario, and on Saturday on BN Sports. This is in L.A., Donnie Nietes versus Edgar Sosa. Well, I didn't know about this fight. Let me find out. Maybe I'll go to them. Maybe I'll see if I can get to the fight this weekend in Carson. Must be at the StubHub. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Anthony Crolla versus Jorge Linares for the WBA lightweight title in Manchester, England.
Wow. I didn't see a bunch of those fights that you mentioned, but thanks, Jay, for clearing that up. So we'll wrap up now. I think that's all we got. The Ruckus, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Visit badculture.net, raisinbabe.com. We appreciate you guys for listening to us today. Thank you, Jay, for always being amazing. Catch us every Monday from 8 to 9. And the Morning Punch-In Show. It's a wrap, Jay.
We're out.